Hare Krishna. Om Gyanatimiraندस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभाणौ सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं हरि ओम तत्सत्। श्री श्री राधा गोपीनाथ भगवान की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्र महारानी की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Hare Krishna. So today we are going to cover the third chapter of second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The chapter is titled The Pure Devotional Service, Change of Heart. In last chapter, we saw about the process of Krama Mukti. Initially, Shukadeva Goswami described about the meditation of the different limbs of Virat Rupa. That's for those who are not pure at heart, in other words, neophyte yogi. And for a more advanced yogi, he described about the different features of Paramatma. And we also saw a third category of yogis who, even though they are at the neophyte stage initially and are advised to meditate on the different limbs of the Virat Rupa, they still do have material desires. For them, the process of gradual liberation, also known as Krama Mukti, is prescribed. For them, they'll first to go to Vaishvanara Loka, then to Shishumara planet, and we saw the Mahar Loka. Then they go to the Sati Loka, which is also known as Brahma Loka. And in Brahma Loka, they can attain liberation directly, or they wait and they go along with the Lord Brahma at the end of his life. So this is the path that's given. And then we also saw Shukadeva Goswami condemning about the path of material sense gratification, because it is temporary, it is binding, and it never gives relief one from the four pangs of material miseries, which is birth, death, old age, and disease. And then Shukadeva Goswami, after having explained the different path of karma kanda, bhakti, mukti rather, Krama Mukti, or the direct process, he then gives the final verdict that it's bhakti, which is the ultimate perfection in everyone's life. And we saw how the same verse got repeated three times. Yatan sarvatmana rajan, are sarvatra sarvada, shrotavya kirtitavyascha, smartavyascha bhagavan rinam. So same verse we saw, which was recited by the sages of Naimisharanya and Sutta Goswami. Earlier we saw, and then Shukadeva Goswami himself had mentioned it earlier. Tasmat Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Harihi Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Smartavyascha Chata Bhayam. Then we saw the same thing. Tasmad Ekena Manasa Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari Bhagavan Sattva-tampati Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Dhyayas Pujascha Nityada. We saw that Sutta Goswami mentioning. So the same conclusion he gives, and then he is now going to describe about the path of pure devotional service, the change of heart. Before he starts to describe about the path of pure devotional service, he's first going to describe about the path which one is not supposed to take, or which is not prescribed for one who is serious about getting liberation. So normally, let us say if I have to um, give some instruction for somebody who's going to shop, let us say a pineapple. So there are two ways to actually say what to go and pick. One way to say is to try to describe what a pineapple is and everything. The other way to describe about a pineapple is to tell what not to buy. Let's say if there's a basket of fruits and there are so many things which may be attractive, which may look very nice to hold, but then I can also tell, when you go there, you will see something which is reddish in color, also known as apple. It may look nice, but we don't want that. You don't want this, you don't want that, like that. On an elimination technique, I can also say. So here, Shukadeva Goswami, in order to describe about the glories of bhakti, elaborating on that, about a pure devotional service, first he says about the mode of worship that is undertaken by the demigod worshippers. And this is one section. Normally, when we discuss about um, wealth, then you may think about Kuvera. Or if somebody thinks about power, one can think about, worship Lord Shiva. If somebody wants a beautiful wife, if worship goddess Parvati, so on and so forth. We see if somebody is afflicted with disease, then one should worship Suryadev, like that. But this series of verses you can go through, it gives elaborate detail about the different demigods. This is second canto, third chapter, verses 2 to 9, about the different demigods and what areas they influence, and if what desire someone has, which of the demigods one is supposed to worship. So Shukadeva Goswami gives in elaborate detail. So before he goes to pure devotional service, he lists down the path of demigod worship. The idea behind this is, before he goes to pure devotional service, he says this is the path which you are not supposed to worship, or this is the path which Alpamedasa, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, those who are less intelligent people, they worship. So this is from verses 2 to 9. If somebody wants to absorb themselves, or if somebody wants to attain Sayujya Mukti, to merge themselves into impersonal Brahma Jyoti, then one should worship Brahma. If one wants powerful sex, then one should worship Indra. For good progeny, one should worship Prajapati Daksha. For good fortune, Durga Devi. For power, Agni. For money, the Vasus. Bhishma Dev is one of the Vasus, you will see. If one wants to be a great hero, one should worship Rudra. For large stock of grains, if one wants to store lot of grains, then Aditi. Heavenly planets, if one want to attain, one should worship the Adityas. Adityas are all demigods, basically the principal demigods: Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Vayu, those who are sons of Mother Aditi. For attaining worldly kingdom, Vishwadeva. If one wants popularity among general mass, Sadhya. So if one wants to be an influencer in Instagram, TikTok, you should worship a demigod called Sadhya. For a long span of life, Ashwini Kumaras, they are the twin demigods. And Nakul and Sahadev, they were begotten after being blessed by them, by Kunti Maharani, by Madri, actually. For getting a strongly built body, one should worship Daritri, also known as Mother Earth. Stability in his post, if one wants stability in their post, if somebody is a politician, if somebody is even a big manager, if one wants to remain stable, one should worship the earth as well as the horizon. For beauty, one should worship Gandharvas. For getting good wife, Apsaras and Urvashi. Urvashi is a very special Apsara. You'll come across many Apsaras, Ramba, Menaka, Tilotama, Urvashi. So Ramba, she's the wife of the sons of Kuvera. Ramba, Menaka, we know how she's related to Vishwamitra. Indra sends her to Vishwamitra. Urvashi, when Naranarayana rishis were meditating, normally before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam in our temples, we always offer this prayer, Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. So Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva. Nara. So this is Naranarayana Rishi. They are the incarnation of the Supreme Lords who are still there, and they are in charge for Bharatavarsha, where we are living. This place is directly under their control, and they they are the predominating deity of Bharatavarsha, and the presiding or the devotee who is leading their worship is Narada Muni. So we have a very special connection with Narada Muni as well as with Naranarayana Rishi. You will come across, if you read Mahabharat, you will come across many instances where repeatedly, almost like hundreds of times, you will come across who Arjuna is. Whenever the glorification of Arjuna comes, which you will see, even his enemies glorify, sages glorify, Narada glorifies, Vyasadeva, Shiva, Bhishma, you name it, Vidura, even Dhritarashtra, whenever they glorify Arjuna, they will mention he is a Nara incarnate. He is a Nara incarnate, like that. Even when Jayatratha goes to, because after he tries to take away Mother Draupadi in the forest, at that time the Pandavas easily subdue him and they shave up his head, leaving only 5 tufts of hair. And Bhima says, I'm leaving you on one condition: wherever you go, you should claim that you are defeated by the Pandavas and that you are their slaves. On this condition, I'm letting you. So Jayatratha goes, worships Lord Shiva. And when Shiva comes, Jayatratha says, I want to subdue Pandavas. Then Lord Shiva laughs and he says, that's not possible. And then Lord Shiva himself says, I can give you this boon on one day alone. You'll be able to stop, or you'll be able to temporarily check their powers. And that too only for 4 of the Pandavas. As far as Arjuna is concerned, he's Nara incarnate. Even I can't fight with him. Lord Shiva says that. So you'll come across Naranarayana rishis. So once when they were engaged in tapasya, in fact, they are in this world simply to benefit all the living entities, especially in Bharatavarsha, and they undergo severe penances. Simply for the benefit of everyone. Regarding the need for penances, we'll discuss it later. How, if we are born in this world, the only way to prosper, the only way to progress is by doing penances. Anything, even materially, if you think about it, if somebody wants to make it big in their life, make it big in career, they have to work hard. But then part of that is they have to cut down on some things, they have to let go on some things. So that's the penance, that's the austerity. So this is karma bhumi, where we live in Bharatavarsha. If you want something, you have to work, both spiritually as well as materially. So Naranarayana Rishi, they perform severe penances and austerities to, first of all, teach the world by example, and secondly, to benefit all the living entities. Yad yad acharati shreshtas. So this is the purpose. So when they do the penance, at that time, Indra initially mistakes them to be normal sages, and being insecure of his position, thinking that they are doing tapasya only to take over his post, he sends all the heavenly damsels. So when they sit in meditation, from their bodies, they expand or create so many different apsaras, who, when our heavenly apsaras, when they look at them, they get ashamed by their lack of beauty. That's how beautiful they are. The apsaras who are so much more beautiful, they come out of the body of Naranarayana Rishi. Then Indra understands his folly, and then he accepts defeat, because he thought he can allure Naranarayana Rishi with the heavenly damsels. But then so many thousands of them, they come from the body of Naranarayana Rishi, who's so much more beautiful. So then finally, after this Leela, when Indra calls back all his apsaras, at that time all the other heavenly damsels who came out of the body of Narayana Rishi, they go back into their body. At the time, Indra calls out, "Oh my lord, please send me one," like that. Then Narayana Rishi take pity on him and they send, okay, Urvashi. So Urvashi appears from the thigh. So then Urvashi goes with Indra. So powerful. So each one of the Apsaras also have got connection to different leelas. Like that, you'll come across Tilotama. Tilotama's story is narrated by Narada Muni to the Pandavas after they married Draupadi. Narada Muni calls Yudhishthir Maharaj and he says that you have 5 of your brothers, you have married Draupadi, you should make sure that she doesn't become the point of contention for you and you end up fighting with each other. And to drive home the point, he narrates the story of 2 demons by name Sunda and Upasunda. They both are very demoniac. Of course, they are demons, and they were very atrocious to the people. They get a boon that they will be killed only when they attack each other and they kill each other. But they're very, very close. They make sure that they don't fight over anything. They're always very cooperative with each other. So now, feeling immortal, they go around wreaking havoc. And when the demigods go and appeal to Lord Brahma, Brahma then creates a very beautiful Apsara by name Tilotama. So when Tilotama comes, Sunda and Upasunda, they get hallowed by her. And then Sunda says, this is my wife and your sister. Upasunda says the opposite. He says, this is my wife and your sister. Then they both start to fight, and in a fit of rage, they smash each other's head and they drop down dead. So Narada Muni mentions about this story and he says, so you have to make sure that it doesn't happen. And then Yudhishthir Maharaj calls on all the Pandavas and then he tells, this is what Narada Muni says, so let us all agree. And they come up with an agreement. When one of the Pandava, so they take turns to associate with the Draupadi. And when one Pandava is associating with the Draupadi, the other 4 Pandavas are not supposed to be there. And if by mistake, if any of the other Pandavas happen to intervene or be in the presence, then that Pandava is supposed to go on penance for 1 whole year. And during the time, he can't associate with Mother Draupadi like that. So one instance you'll come across where there was a Brahmana whose cows are being stolen by a thief. He comes running to Yudhishthir Maharaj in Indraprastha that my cows are being stolen, please protect me. But then Arjuna realizes Yudhishthir Maharaj is with Mother Draupadi. So then Arjuna is in a fix because to pick up his Gandiva, he has to go past the throne where both Yudhishthir Maharaj and Mother Draupadi are there because the weaponry chest is there. But then he realizes, if I keep quiet now, then Yudhishthir Maharaj will take the blame because he is the king. Yudhishthir Maharaj will take the blame of not having protected a Brahmana. So then Arjuna knocks on the room, enters the room, and he looks straight ahead, goes to the chest, picks up Gandiva. When he comes, both Mother Draupadi and Yudhishthir Maharaj smile at him because they know Arjuna means man of pure deeds. He never does any mistake at all. He always sticks to the path of Dharma. Despite the agreement, if he comes in means, they immediately conclude there has to be some urgent need. That's why he's coming. So he comes straight, picks up the Gandiva, goes with the Brahmana, chases after the robbers, subdues them, reclaims the cows and gives it back to the Brahmana. And when he comes back, Yudhishthir Maharaj embraces him, saying, thank you very much for saving the Brahmana. Arjuna then asks for forgiveness from both Yudhishthir Maharaj and Draupadi, saying that I have breached our agreement, so I will go on penance. And everyone gets shocked. And Yudhishthir Maharaj tries to convince him that you did it only out of duty, out of care for me. But Arjuna says, no, what kind of a Kshatriya am I if I go back on my word? And then Arjuna goes on 1 full year of pilgrimage. So during that year only, you will see he marries Ulupi, he marries who is a Naga princess. He marries Chitrangada, who is Manipur princess. And then he goes to Dwaraka during the Chaturmas period. And at the end of the Chaturmas period, he marries Shubhadra Maran, and then he comes back. So you will come across this. So these Apsaras, if somebody wants good wife, they should marry Apsara, or sorry, rather, they should worship Apsara and Urvashi. If one wants dominion, control over others, then one should worship Lord Brahma. For tangible fame, one should worship Supreme Lord Yagya. Make a note, for good bank balance, one should worship Lord Varuna. For vast learning, one should worship Lord Shiva. For good marital relationship, one should worship Uma, which is Mother Parvati. For spiritual advancement in knowledge, no surprise, worship Lord Vishnu and his devotees. So for spiritual advancement in knowledge, one should worship the Supreme Lord and his devotees. For protection of heredity and advancement of a dynasty, one should worship various demigods. For domination over a kingdom or empire, one should worship Manus. There are 14 Manus in a day of Lord Brahma. For victory over an enemy, one should worship the demons. And for sense gratification, one should worship Moon. So this is the path that's taken by, it's not like one should worship. For sense gratification, Alpamedasa, they worship the moon god, like that it's given here. So for these are the different material benefits for which these list of 26 demigods are given, what one is supposed to worship. You can go through them. It's from verse 2 to 9. After reciting all this different list, finally Shukadeva Goswami says, Akama sarva kamava moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Whether one is akama, one has got no desire. Sarva kamava, one is full of desires. Akama, sarva kama, moksha kama, or one is desiring liberation. Whether no desire, full of desire, or desire for material, or desire for liberation. Moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena. One should do tivra bhakti. This bhakti is always qualified with this adjective, tivra bhakti. Mamchayo avya bicharena. Or Anyabila Shata Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavratam Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. Unmotivated and uninterrupted. Savai Pumsam Parodharmo, Yato Bhakti Radoksaje, Ahaitukya Pratihata, unmotivated and uninterrupted. You will come across. For pure devotional service, we come across Anyabilashita Shunyam. One should not have any other desires except the desire to please the Supreme Lord. Jnana Karmadi Anavratam. It should be free from any material motives and free from any mental speculation. Anukulyena Krishna Anushalan. It should be favorable for Krishna. It should be an active devotional service, not just passively sitting and meditating or idle meditation. Anukulyena, it has to be cultivated. Krishna Anushilanam, it has to be only for Krishna. Shilanam Bhakti Ruttama. This is pure devotional service. So you will come across Bhakti means it's not yet another worship of another demigod. Bhakti means giving up everything and focusing. Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. Yajetam Purusham Param. That Param Purusha one is supposed to do intense devotional service without deviating here and there. One should be very chaste in worshipping that. Now, one may think, if a demigod worshipper who's so much engrossed in getting all these means of sense gratification, worshipping these different demigods, how can such a person take up to this path of Tivra Bhakti? Shukadeva Goswami says there's only one way how one can take up bhakti. One cannot naturally take up bhakti. To take up bhakti, one should have devotee association. That is the only way. If a karma kandi keeps on doing a yagya, when they come to the stage, at one point they will think, I'm getting all this, but I'm also realizing whatever I get is just futile. At some point I'm giving up on them, or some point I'm losing interest in them, or at some point I realize whatever material achievements I have done, rather than working in my favor, they are causing me a lot of disturbance. So one may think like that. But in order to come to the, by thinking like that, one may develop some kind of a detachment from it. But then how long will that detachment last? Until they crave for something else. But if one wants to completely get rid of any kind of attachment to material desire and take up to the process of bhakti, one should associate with devotees. There's no other means, there is no other way. To get Tivra Bhakti, to get unalloyed devotional service, association matters. Srimad Bhagavatam is replete with examples. You come across story of Mrigari, hunter. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions how somebody who was a sadist, so to speak, he would half kill the animal and he would sit and watch them die. From there, because of association of Narada Muni, he progresses so much that when he sees his spiritual master, when he's running towards him, he sees a few ants going in front of him, and he carefully protects the ants, and then only he's falling flat in front of his Supreme Lord. So when Parvata Muni, who is Narada Muni's friend, you'll come across Parvata Muni along with Narada Muni in so many places. He's a very good friend of Narada. When he comes and he sees this magical transformation, Parvata Muni tells to Narada Muni, Tumi ho Sparshamani. Actually, I was reading one quote of His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj. He says, actually we say devotees are touchstone. Sparshamani means touchstone. But he says, actually devotees are greater than touchstone. Because a touchstone, if it touches a metal, that becomes gold. That's great. But touchstone cannot make other touchstones. It can only make something else gold. But Maharaj says, but a devotee can make another fallen person as a devotee, that person also becomes a touchstone, because in their association, others also become like them. So a devotee is greater than a touchstone, because a touchstone, by touching any other metal, can only make it gold. It cannot create another touchstone. Maharaj says like that. So devotee's position is so much here in association. So here we see the transformation of Mrigari. So he comes from a background where he was so sadistic to the point where he can't even think of harming even an ant. That's what bhakti is capable of doing. Only by association of devotees can one take up Tivra Bhakti. So Shukadeva Goswami gives that instruction as a conclusion here. Etavan eva yajatam iha nishre yashodayaha bhagavati achalo bhavo yad bhagavata sangataha. Bhagavata sangataha. Bhagavata means pure devotees. Yad bhagavata sangataha. Only by the association or the sangha of pure devotees can one take up to the path of Tivra Bhakti. Even jnanis take up to Bhakti. So he says, why not demigod worshippers? Because jnana generally it creates indifference to the waves of material modes. Jnanis means they are usually very aloof from any kind of sense enjoyment. Jnana is self-satisfying. It is free from attachment to the gunas. Jnanis, they usually cut down on sense gratification. They don't pursue to increase their material attachments at all. Jnana is actually transcendental even and approved by the authorities. It is free from modes of material nature. It doesn't get affected. If a jnani is properly following the path of jnana, then they won't get affected by any other desires, by material modes. They'll be like Atmaramas, very self-satisfied, and they'll be free of attachment. This being the case, even jnanis would get attracted to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Atmaramascha munayo nirgrantapi urukrame kurvanti ahitukim bhaktim ittam bhuta gunavari. So even jnanis would get attracted to this. So what to speak of karma gandhis? Everyone will get attracted to Harikatha, because jnanis, they are already in a platform where they are already free from being affected, being tossed around by the modes of material nature. They are already self-satisfied. Even they get attracted to the path of Harikatha, to the path of Bhakti Yoga. Jnanam yad apranivritta gunormi chakram atma prasada utayatra guneshva sangaha kaivalya sammatapatas tuvata Bhakti Yoga ko nirvrito harikatashu ratim nakuryat. Who is that person who will not ko nirvrito? Harikatashu ratim. Who is that person who will not be attracted to Harikatha? Even Jnanis get attracted. Jnanis, by their own efforts, they have already gone beyond the path of sense gratification. But even them, they get attracted to the Supreme Lord. What to speak of other karma kandis? So everyone will get attracted. So only thing one has to do is somehow or other put oneself in the association of the pure devotees. So you will see of the 64 items of devotional service, 5 are considered to be the most potent forms of devotional service. We read that in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion. Sadhu Sangha, Nama Sankirtan, Bhagavat Shravana, Mathura Vasa, Shraddhaya Murtira Sevana. Of these 5, it is said that if one associates with the sadhu, if one does just sadhu sangha, then the other 4 and the other 59 will also follow. So simply by associating with the devotees, we'll always learn one or the other, one item of devotional service or something else. Or one will actually chant. So we'll also sit and chant. One may be going and helping in the kitchen. We'll also go and help because of sadhu sangha. We like all of us have that experience. At some point when we started practicing bhakti, we got attached to one or 2 devotees. We made good friends, and just to be with them, we were doing whatever that they wanted to do. Whatever they were doing, we were also doing. So, like that, if one goes with only sadhu sangha, somehow or other, then all the other 63 items will follow. But most important thing is association of devotees. In the association of devotees, one will never fall down. You come across, let's say, Ajamila. Ajamila didn't have somebody to tell him, this is what you're supposed to do. You're going astray here, come. Bharat Maharaj, of course, Bharat Maharaj's position is different. Even for Leela's sake, he was alone. If only there is a second devotee, Radhanath Maharaj says, if there is a second devotee and if he sees Bharat Maharaj getting attracted to a deer, he would have told Bharat Prabhu, you are getting a little attached. Let's stay focused on our path, like that. So it's very, very important, the association of the devotees. Pandavas' biggest strength is they were well knit. Each one of the 5 Pandavas, they were Indras in their previous lives. That's how powerful they were. But they are very, very attached to each other in a good sense. Likewise, Prachetas, 10 of them, they were doing tapasya. When Vishnu comes, Vishnu, first of all, he says, I'm so pleased and attracted to the unity among all 10 of you brothers, like that. So many places we will see this association of devotees is the X factor, so to speak. And then after Sutta Goswami finishes this conversation on this particular topic with Sukadeva Goswami answering the 2 questions. What is the duty of a dying person and what is the duty of humans in all place, time, and circumstance? So, Tasmad Sarvatmana Rajan, Harir Sarvatra Sarvada. One should always, in all place, time, and circumstances, Shrottavya Kirtitavyascha. One should always hear, one should always glorify the Supreme Lord, Shrottavya Kirtitavyascha, Smartavya Bhagavan Ranam. So, one should hear, chant, and remember Sarvatra Sarvada, all place, all time, and all circumstance. So, after he concludes the answer of Shukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami tells the Shaunakadi Rishis. So this is what that transpired after Parishit Maharaj had asked those 2 questions. So now Shaunakadi Rishis, after having heard the beautiful question and answer or the narration of the conversation of Shukadeva Goswami and Parishit Maharaj, now Shaunaka says, "Oh Sutta Goswami, you are very learned, you are Vidwan, and we are very eager to hear Shushru Shatam. So please continue Harikatha. Please tell us more about what Parishit Maharaj asked and what Shukadev Goswami answered. And please discuss more about Harikatha, and this will always be the subject matter of conversation amongst the devotees. Anyonyam asin sanjalpa uttama shloka chetasham kauravendra purastrinam sarva shruti manoharaha. When Krishna was leaving Hastinapur to go to Dwaraka, this is after Kurukshetra. At that time, the ladies of Hastinapur, they all climbed on their roofs, and Krishna is walking with the gait of a lion on the street as he was going to get on board his chariot. At that time, all the Hastinapur ladies, they were all climbing on their roofs, and they were throwing flower petals, and Krishna is looking at each one of them, and he's acknowledging by gently nodding. But as he was walking, Anyonyam asin Chanjalpa, they were talking to each other very intimately. Anyonyam is very intimately, all the Hastinapur ladies, and they were talking to each other. Anyonyam asit Chanjalpa, Uttama Shloka Chetasham, because their heart is, their Cheta is always fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. With that absorption, they were talking intimately. Hey, see, look at Krishna, he is now going back to Dwaraka. Kauravendra Purastrinam. These are all the wives, the ladies in the houses of Kauravendra, of all the kings of the Kuru dynasty, of all the kings of the Hastinapur. So their queens, as well as the maidservants, everyone, they were climbing and they were talking. What is the quality of this talk? Anyonyam asin sanjalpa uttama shloka chetasam Kauravendra purastrinam. And this talk, the quality of a talk is such that Sarva Shruti Manoharaha, it was more attractive, more absorbing than even the recitation of all the Vedas. This is the quality of talk. Kauravendra Purastrinam Sarva Shruti Manoharaha. It attracts the mind so much than even the recitation of the Vedas. Actually, recitation of the Vedas is very pleasing to hear. But this Anyonyam, this intimate talk of all the ladies of Hastinapur is even more attractive. Like that, we saw that in the first canto when Krishna was leaving Hastinapur. So this is what that needs to be heard, spoken, and remembered. So they glorify Sutta Goswami. And then they glorify Parishit Maharaj. Parishit Maharaj was a great devotee. Since childhood, he would play Bala Krida, imitating deity worship. He would see his grandfathers, the Pandavas, how they worship. He would see his mother, grandmothers, how they worship. His mother is Uttara. Grandmothers are Subhadra, Marani, Draupadi. How they worship the Supreme Lord. Looking at all of that, he would also do. And he will enact Krishna's pastimes and imitate worship of family deity. This is what Parishit Maharaj was doing. You will come across similar activities being done by Uddhava. We'll see that in third canto. Uddhava also does that. And you will see similar things done by Prahlad Maharaj also. So they were all devotee kids. Right from childhood, they were all into practicing of Krishna Bhakti. Shukadev Goswami, first they mentioned about Sutta Goswami. They are glorifying Sutta Goswami, who is the speaker. Then they are glorifying Parishit Maharaj. Then they are glorifying Shukadev Goswami. Goes to show, in order to be a good listener or a hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam, one should have appreciation for everyone related to Srimad Bhagavatam, the speaker, the hearers, the personalities who we discuss. Otherwise, if we don't connect with them emotionally, then we can't really relish reading. Just like, why do people watch movies? So they can, for a temporary duration, which is the duration of the movie, they can detach themselves from the reality. They can emotionally connect themselves with one of the characters in the movie, and they will watch. And usually that will be the hero or the heroine or some central character of the movies. With that emotion, when they cry, they will also cry. When they feel angry, the characters, People who are watching, they'll also feel angry. Even though this is totally material, there is zero devotional credit, there is 100% material binding. So nothing is favorable there. Bad for the eyes, bad for the body, bad for everything. But still, everyone gets emotionally connected. Similarly, when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, when we hear the Shastras, one should have that level of connection with them. The more we connect with the personalities, the more we will be able to feel what they feel. And the more we read it mechanically, more dry it will look. Okay, another set of prayers. Okay, another glorification. But if we connect ourselves, now here we are seeing how they are glorifying Sutta Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj, Shukadev Goswami. But look at Shaunakadi rishis themselves. How much appreciation do they have? They're not just listening, okay, so then what? No, they are glorifying each and every personality. And we saw in the first canto also how they asked different questions. They asked 9 questions, which is the answer to the first, which is the elaboration of the entire first canto, so to speak. What is the ultimate good for people in general? What is the essence of all scriptures? Why did Krishna appear in the womb of mother Devaki as the son of Vasudeva? What are the different Purusha avatars? What are the different Leela avatars? And who did or where did the principles of religion and knowledge take shelter of after the disappearance of Krishna? And then Shukadev Goswami, or rather Sutta Goswami, answers to all the question that bhakti is the ultimate good for all people in general, and bhakti is the essence of all scriptures. And then the dharma and jnana, they took a shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then he mentions about the Purusha avatars, Leela avatars, and he also mentions why Krishna appeared in this world to attract people who are in mode of goodness, to take them back to spiritual world. And then they ask 3 more questions. Please tell us about the history of 3 personalities. One is Srimad Bhagavatam itself. Please tell us about the history of Srimad Bhagavatam. Please tell us about the history of Shukadev Goswami, as well as the history of Parikshit Maharaj. In answer to that history of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami describes about the despondency which Vyasadeva went through, and how at that time his spiritual master Narada Muni gave his instructions, and Narada Muni narrated his own life. We saw all of that. That's the history of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then the birth of Shukadev Goswami is mentioned, and then Parikshit Maharaj's birth is mentioned, which is pretty much the prologue, or what happened post Kurukshetra war. How Krishna was living, and then Ashwatthama was hurling Brahmastra, Parikshit was protected, and then we see all of that. And then how Parikshit Maharaj's life was predicted by the different astrologers, how his great qualities were compared to different personalities, and how Arjuna came, broke the news about Krishna's departure. All the Pandavas installed Shukadev, Parishit Maharaj, and they went to the forest. Parishit Maharaj, how he was ruling, how he punished the personality of Kali or Kali Purush, and how Parishit Maharaj was cursed by Shringi Brahmana, how he gave. And then the first canto completes with Parishit Maharaj being seated on mat, Kushagra's mat, and then in that assembly, Shukadev Goswami arriving. So this is the entire first canto. So we'll see the appreciation for each one of these different personalities time and again are being expressed so expertly by Shaunakadi rishis, or Rishi Shaunaka, the head of all the sages who were assembled in Naimisharanya. So it's very important to have that connection, to have that appreciation. Otherwise, getting this message deeper, and most important, making that message as part of our value system and transforming ourselves is very, very difficult. And he says, Shukadev Goswami was also a great devotee, Vasudeva Parayana. Therefore, they must have discussed Harikata, Urugaya Gunodaraha, Machita Madgata Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam. Krishna says, my devotees, they come together and they discuss, they enlighten one another, conversing about me. And here, when they glorify Shukadeva Goswami, they mention Shukadeva Goswami is also a great devotee, Vasudeva Parayana. Great devotees, when they come together, Parikshit Maharaj is a great devotee. They are saying Balakrida, even as a child he was playing with the deities. And Shukadeva Goswami is also a great devotee, Vasudeva Parayana. When both of them come together, what would happen there? Urugaya Gunodaraha. There will be glorification of Urugaya. There will be glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is the best utility of once a time. Ayur Harati Vaipumsam Udyanastam Chayanyasho Tasyarte Chananita Uttama Shloka Vartaya. He says, Ayur Harati Vaipumsam Udyanastam Chayanyasho. With the sunrise and sunset, one's life is taken away, except the duration when one is engaged. Ayur Harati. Harati means to take away. Ayur Harati Vaipumsam Udyan Astam. Sunrise and sunset, one's life is taken away. Tasyarte yat chananita uttama shloka vartya. Except the time when one is engaged in glorifying the Supreme Lord, who is also known as Uttama Shloka. So in a day, if we take, okay, we chant for 2 hours, okay, then 22 hours only is taken away. And then we read for an hour. Okay, 3 hours, our life is with us. 21 hours is taken away. But if somehow or other we engage our life in such a way, mold our life in such a way so that 24 hours of our life is engaged in the service of Krishna, then there is no death. Then our life is immortal. Then it doesn't matter whether we are in material world or in spiritual world. Yesterday, when I was mentioning this point, one of the youths asked, how to engage? We have 24 hours. Yes, we chant. What about the rest of the life? Rest of the life is very easy. Let's say you work for 8 hours. You give the result of those 8 hours to Krishna in every sense. Whatever credit you get, you thank Krishna, offer that credit to Krishna. If you earn some money, give a portion of that to Krishna. In this way, everything can be connected to Krishna. If you go to sleep, we should not think, finally I can take rest. Prabhupada says, when we go to sleep, we should think, I will go to sleep, feel rejuvenated, and then I can offer nice service to Krishna tomorrow morning. So our focus when we go to bed should not be on taking rest, which is the act of resting itself, but should be focused on how I can quickly get up, how I can chant Hare Krishna, how I can read, how I can do my devotional service. That should be the focus. Otherwise, with every sunrise and sunset, our life will slowly go away. And then they say, what is the use of living a long life? Tarava kimna jivanti, bastra kimna swasantiyata. If breathing in and breathing out is the most important thing, then if you look at the blacksmith, they'll pull the bellow. With every time they actually pull, even the bellow of the blacksmith is breathing in and breathing out. So they say, if one is not engaged in Krishna Katha, what is the use or what different is our life from the life of a tree? Tarava kimna jivanti, even they live and we also live. They don't glorify Krishna. If we also don't glorify Krishna, then what's the use in being in human body? That's the logic behind this question. Tarava kimna jivanti, doesn't the trees live? Bastra kimna swasantiyuta, doesn't the bellows of the blacksmiths breathe? They also breathe. We are also breathing. They don't glorify Krishna. If we also don't glorify Krishna, then we are no better than the bellow of a blacksmith. Quite strong words. Na kadanti na mehanti. Do the beasts also not eat and discharge semen? Humans also just eat and procreate. And then what's the difference between beast and humans? So this is the logic. Kim grame pashavopare. Tarava kim na jivanti, bastra kim na swasantiyuta, na kadanti na mehanti, kim grame pashavopare. There has to be some difference between human form of life and between a bellow and animals, beasts. What is that difference? Uttama shloka chetasham. We can fix our mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. We can discuss about Krishna. We can hear about Krishna. We can glorify Krishna. That's the difference. Animalistic people who don't hear about Krishna, they will get glorified by similar people. Swavid varaha ustrakare samstuta purusha pashu nayad karna patapeto jatu nama gadagraja. This section is a little strong, but it's an interesting comparison. What Shaunaka Rishi makes here. Animalistic people, meaning who are not attracted to hearing the message of Krishna, they will in turn, but they may sometimes speak words which may sound very nice, but actually it has got no value in it. Prabhupada would often give example of fake currency. One can say one is a millionaire with, but if the currency which they hold is a fake currency, then what's the use of being a millionaire? You cannot even buy something for even a cent or a dollar. So if somebody who is posing themselves as very learned, I don't follow Shastra, I have gotten all the knowledge just by thinking myself, or all the knowledge I have just figured out. Such people will be glorified by another class of animalistic people. And what is the class of that animalistic people? This verse says, Swavid varaha ustragare. Only those people who are like dogs, Swa vidvaraha, stool eating hogs, ustra, camel, karai, donkeys or asses. So those animalistic people who are not attracted to hearing the message of Krishna, they will be glorified by these four categories of people. Swavid varaha ustrakarai, samstuta purusha pashu, nayad karna patapeto, na jatu nama gatagraja. Only such people will glorify. But Paramahamsas, Satas, Sattvatas, Bhagavatas, they will always associate with only those who are saintly, who are Vasudeva Parayana, who always speak and glorify about Krishna. Anyonyamas Sanjalpa Uttama Shloka Chetasham Kauravendra Purastrinam Sarva Shruti Manoharaha. That talks between them will be more attractive, more alluring than even the sounds of the Vedas. And then such animalistic people who don't engage in hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna, he concludes by giving a limb by limb description. Interesting comparison he gives. Bile batoru krama vikramanya yachrinvatam karnapute narasya jivasati da durkeva suta nacho pagayanti urgaya gata. Those holes, ear holes, which is not listening about Urugaya Gata, which is not listening about the prowess of the Supreme Lord. That is not a ear hole, but this is the hole where the snakes would live. Likewise, that tongue which does not describe about the glories of Krishna, that's not the tongue of a human, this is the tongue of a frog, which will only attract the snake. And they say the upper part of the body, even though crowned with the silk turban, if it doesn't bow down to the Supreme Lord, Manikriva and Nala Kuvera, they give a beautiful prayer, offer a beautiful prayer to Lord Damodara after being liberated from their curse as trees, as Yamalarjuna trees. They glorify. Vani Gunanu Katane Shravanau Katayam Hastau Chakarmashu Manastava Padayorna Smrityam Shiras Tavanivasa Jagat Praname Drishti Satam Darshanestu Bhavattanunam. They say, my Lord, may every word that we speak be in your glorification. Vani Gunanu Katane. May every word that we hear be your Harikata. Shravanau Katayam. Hastau Chakarmashu Manastava Padayorna. May every act that we do with our limbs, with our hastau hands, may that be your devotional service. Hastau cha karmashu manastava padayorna. May our mind be always fixed on your lotus feet, and may we always remember you. Smrityam siras tava nivasa jagat praname. That's related to this. May our whole body be engaged. Sira, may our head be engaged in bowing down to you. Drishti satam darshane estu bhavatanuna. May our eyes be always taking darshan of, surprise, surprise. They say, may our eyes be always be perfected by taking darshan of your devotees. Drishti satam. Satam means devotees. So, taking darshan of Supreme Lord and taking darshan of devotees. Taking darshan of devotees is same as taking darshan of the Supreme Lord. But that head, if it doesn't bow down to the Lord, then Shaunaka Rishi says that a head is not head, it's only a burden. Just like you have, if you carry a burden, it'll be heavy, it'll be weighing heavy. Like that, this head is also just a burden to your body. That's the comparison he gives. Likewise, hands, even though it is nicely decorated with bangles, if it's not engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord Hari, we see the description of Ambarish Maharaj, Savai Manakrishna Padara Vindayo, Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanu Varnane, Karau Harer Mandira Marjanadeshu. He used his hands in cleaning Mandira Marjanadeshu, in cleaning the temple. So if the hands are not engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord, then this hand is no better than those of a dead man. Dead man hand is also lying like this. There also, in yoga, we do savasana, my favorite asana. You lie down like a dead body at the end of doing your yoga. So this is savasana. In savasana, your hand goes like this. That hand doesn't do work. So a dead man's hand doesn't do any service for Krishna. And if a living man's hand doesn't do any service for Krishna, then this person is a Jivan Mrityu. He is just living dead man. He's just a dead man walking. That's what it means. That's what it means. So this is the hands if it doesn't engage. Likewise, he says the eyes, which doesn't look at the beautiful Mukunda Lingalaya Darshane Drisho, when that eyes is not looking at the Mukunda Lingalaya, the beautiful form of the Lord, then that eyes is not eyes, is just the plumes of a peacock. You know, in a peacock, you have this nice artistic work that looks like an eye, but peacock can't see with that. It's just a feather. So he says, then those eyes are just like the plumes of peacock. You cannot see with it. Likewise, those legs which doesn't move to holy places. Sthiti seva gatriyatra spunritis chinta stutir vachaha. Bhuyat sarvatmana Vishnu maidhyam toiche sthitam. In Aparada Shodhana, we recite this prayer. Sthiti seva, may every act that I do be your devotional service. Gatir yatra, may everywhere I walk, may that be the place of pilgrimage. In other words, may my legs be used only in your service. Smritishinta, may every thought that I have be that of your lotus feet. Stutir vachaha, may every word that I speak be in glorification of you. So if a leg doesn't move to the place of pilgrimage, then that leg is no different to a tree trunk, he says. And the person who doesn't receive the dust of the lotus feet of pure devotees on their head, and that person who doesn't experience the aroma of tulsi, such a person is certainly a dead body. So you'll find many verses in Srimad Bhagavatam about Rajobhishekam, how if one is prasada lesanu grihita evahi, if one gets at least a tiny bit of mercy of the Supreme Lord, if one is bathing oneself with the dust of the lotus feet of pure devotees, then one can make so much spiritual advancement. But if one doesn't bow down and take the dust of the lotus feet of pure devotees, then such a person is only a dead body. Likewise, if one doesn't smell the aroma of the lotus offered to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, then also one is considered to be a dead person. You can read this section about Ambarish Maharaj, how he engaged. So, Granam cha tatpada saroja saurabe, Srimad Tulasyam rasanam tadarpite, it's given. Granam cha tatpada saroja saurabe. They engaged the sense of smell in smelling the flowers which were offered to his lotus feet. Srimad Tulasyam rasanam tadarpite. They engaged the sense of taste in tasting the Mahaprasad lotus or Mahaprasad Tulsi, which is offered at the lotus feet of the Lord, Charan Tulsi. And that heart which such a person have, who is glorified by the 4 types of animalistic people. So these are the limb by limb description. What are the different limbs of an animalistic person? Animalistic person means those who are not engaged in hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. So this is the comparison that's given. Their ear holes of a snake. Their tongue is not a tongue, but a tongue of a frog, upper body or upper portion of the body, which is the head. If it doesn't bow down, then it is just a heavy burden. Likewise, the hands, which doesn't engage in the service of Krishna, they are just those of dead man. Their eyes is not eye, but plumes of a peacock. Their legs is just a tree trunk because it doesn't go to a place of pilgrimage. The person himself is a dead body because he hasn't taken the dust of the lotus feet of pure devotees, nor did he or she smell the tulsi, the aroma of tulsi offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. The heart of such person, which doesn't transform even after hearing and chanting the holy name of the Lord, the heart of such person must be still framed. So in this way, Sutta Goswami is giving description of animalistic person, and he says only such people will not get attracted to Harikatha, but we are attracted to Harikatha. Therefore, please speak Harikatha. That transpired between Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. That's how this chapter finishes. Every chapter is a beautiful chapter. The chapter titled Pure Devotional Service, the Change of Heart. Thank you very much for the opportunity to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll see you all next week. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki Jai. Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai. Sri Sri Gaur Nitai ki Jai. Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.